If the button is pushed, there's no running away. There'll be no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
That's enough of that. Hi friends, welcome to another video from the bunker. This video is going to be quite a lot different than the videos I've been posting for the last X amount of years. It's been on the back of my mind for quite some time, and you know, most of you know me by now as upbeat and don't care, just carry on, stay funky and all the rest of it. But you know, now and again I think some serious issues do need to be looked at. And with the community we've got, I think it's great that we can all interact with the comments, pitch ideas, and everyone is free to see the comments and learn from them, as well as hopefully from the information that I'm posting on my videos. Now the title suggests doesn't look good. And yeah, it's hard to sort of discuss all this with a great big beaming smile on my face, as I always do, because it is very serious. Okay, I've wrote down a lot of notes because there's no way I could remember all of the footnotes, bullet points, or whatever you want to call them. So excuse me while I look away from you guys every now and again, just to see where we are with all of these notes that I've been writing down. And as I said, it's been on the back of my mind for quite some time, and I think it's high time that we've done a video to talk about this sort of thing. Okay. It's all well and good, you know, practicing survival and acquiring kit and equipment, food supplies, etc. That's great. We should all be doing that, in my opinion. But no one really seems to post videos of why they do these sorts of things. With the current climate, how it is at the moment, I think is going to push videos like this from other folk as well, because it's high time that we mention this, as I said, so I don't want to dwell on about it. We'll jump straight in. Is the shit hit the fan imminent? No one really knows. No one's got a crystal ball, but when you look at world events and you join up the dots, you could get a bigger picture or a better picture than a lot of the guys who just don't really give a shit, to be honest. So we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. What we've been seeing here in the UK, by the way, this is April 2018 currently. High street shops. It's been on the media for a few years now that some of the big shops are closing down. Okay, and to mention a few, Toys R Us. There's also shops that are in big difficulties. Okay, you've got Homebase, Mothercare, House of Fraser, Sainsbury's, British Home Stores went, obviously Woolworths. There's a whole list. Okay, and if I was to read out all of them over the last 10 years, it will take up too long. So a lot of you know by now, you can see it. All right. So when you've got all of these shops disappearing from our high streets and the smaller shops popping up to fill their space, charity shops, betting shops, takeaways, pound shops, pawn shops, the little pop-up shops, that sort of thing, right? The problem is when you've got like lots of charity shops in your high street, the business rates, they get a relief, so they don't pay nowhere near as much as the shops that were there before them. So what that tends to do is there's less money in the pocket for local councils to invest back into the community. So with that, you've got the minimum wage has been increased, so you're going to see less staff in these shops, so you're going to spend more time queuing, and it just adds to loads of other stuff. And so bear with me, it comes as a big surprise near the end as this story grows. It's what I've been noting in myself. Okay, obviously with all of these shops closing, there's a big loss of jobs. Obviously the food costs, the price of food is slowly, very slowly creeping up. There's a few spikes in certain items and they come back down, but they creep back up again. And that's mainly due to global events around the world with extreme weather. Now, I remember, when I was a kid back in the 70s, you had the seasons, they were clearly defined. You had nice summers, you had bitter cold winters, you had a rainy spring, and that was pretty much it. But now, it's just all over the place. I mean, this time of year it should be a lot warmer than what it is and a lot drier, but it's not. And it's not uncommon to see snow these days down here in the south of England. You'll probably get snow like every 10 years, but now it's like every year or two. And these extreme events are happening not just in the UK but all around the world. And a lot of the mass producers of certain food stocks in the US, for example, are struggling because of the weather. Speaking to farmers, appreciate how hard it is to produce X amount of crops to a certain standard, a certain quantities, with all of this crazy weather. So food prices are rising. Okay. Obviously, inflation is set to rise. They've been harping on about it for a few years. Lots of people are paying a very low amount on their mortgages for their houses. When that base rate jumps, a lot of these houses are going to be repossessed. There's just no way they're going to be able to pay the rent. So you're going to be getting a lot of people just basically repossessed of their houses. Okay. So it's all a bit of a doom and gloom picture, I'm afraid. Hence, this is a rare video from me, but I feel it needs addressing, so we're going to press on. Obviously, big topic, the Middle East. It's been boiling away for years. Obviously, fuel prices are unstable. They can shoot up and down very quickly because of the fear that's bubbling in the background. It all adds up, and it always points back to fear, as we're going to talk about that briefly a bit later in the video. Obviously, with the situation with Russia, a lot of people don't seem to realise that most of our gas is from Russia. We did used to have X amount from the North Sea, from our own rigs, but that's come down. We're shipping it in from France at crazy prices. So fuel prices are unstable. Obviously, with the extreme weather, as I just mentioned, the demand for fuel in the UK is quite high when the weather temperatures are extremely low. Okay. Obviously, going back to the jobs, it's not only that sector, it's the police, armed forces as well. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands have lost their jobs. Police, army, Air Force, Navy is getting low. It's just ridiculous. And obviously these people are out of work. So there's a lot of people looking for work. So you see an unemployment rise. Okay. Obviously, with unemployment and people getting repossessed and all that sort of thing with their houses, crime is slowly rising as well, because there's less police on the streets to patrol, and the criminals aren't dumb, they know this, they take full advantage of that fact. So you're seeing crime increasing, especially violent crime. And with this proposed, well, not sure where it is at the moment, because we're still waiting for the Home Secretary to put the full stop at the end of the bullshit notes that she's been writing about this online knife ban. But obviously criminals don't abide by the law, they're still going to get weapons. It's the people who abide the law to the letter who are going to be in trouble, because they will have next to no means to defend themselves. No pepper spray, no knives, no guns, all sorts of weird and wonderful things, batons, etc. you cannot use, you cannot have in public, etc. So all this causes fear and creates panic. Now, historically, stock markets get in trouble when there's a lot of fear about. Okay, the speculation for stocks rise and fall, and it's every X amount of years before the stock market crashes, and when it does, it's a big problem, especially when you add into the mix what I've just mentioned, about people losing their houses, losing their jobs, the price of everything's going up. It's not good. Okay. And then you get the inevitable stock market crash. That brings to fore a whole lots of implications. Okay, it just compounds like you wouldn't believe. And historically it does happen every now and again. You add into the mix the NHS, the National Health Service, founded in the UK just after World War II. I think it's the Labour Party bringing it in. So yeah, we're not going to talk too much about politics because I try to avoid that, because you just get in a big spiral of arguments, and there's no time to get caught up in arguments. You need to sort of get information, research it yourself, ponder it, act on it if you can, rather than just chasing your tail, arguing, oh, my government's better than yours, and all that rubbish. Okay. So yes, the NHS, and also with the NHS you've got, in my opinion, corrupt management at the top, earning an absolute fortune. With that you've got not enough staff on the front line, especially like ambulance service and in accident and emergency, the A&E departments. They're grossly understaffed, underpaid, working longer hours, more stress. And when you've got that, they make more mistakes. And when the health service makes more mistakes, people sue because, you know, their injuries, etc., could have been preventable. So that's taking more money out of the NHS, including, as I say, the corrupt management of all of these sectors within the NHS. So that's not looking good, and eventually you might even see the privatisation of the NHS. Now there's certain parts within the hospitals that are being privatised, like little shops and things inside, and it's just going to grow, in my opinion, over the next few years. So when the NHS does become privatised, that means a lot of people who are on low incomes simply won't be able to spend, you know, a few £1,000s on a broken leg, etc. So there's a lot of people suffering, a lot of people getting sick, and a lot of people who rely on certain things just won't be able to handle it. Whether it's mental or physical, they're just going to fall by the wayside and perish. Alright? So obviously, when you've got poverty and that sort of thing, you're going to see a further increase in crime, so people can make ends meet. Alright? Also, I do have friends in the police currently serving. Speaking to a few of them, you know, it's only a few, but speaking in depth around a campfire as you do, they've actually spoken to colleagues with them at their police departments, and what's been noted is, should this shit hit the fan, you know, we're talking mass civil unrest here in the UK, actually happen, when it comes down to it, a lot of these officers will be at home protecting their families. So you're going to have even less police on the streets trying to prevent the mass escalation of nastiness falling into such an extent. They're going to be at home looking after their families rather than go on the shift and go to the riot 2 blocks away, you know, because who's going to be at home looking after their families? No one. So that's a big thing to think about. Okay, going back to Russia, and I hate to use the words, but it's commonly known as rogue states. Okay, threatening cyber attacks as reprieve to previous actions regarding that chemical attack in Salisbury. Obviously, you're looking at key assets being targeted, namely electricity. That can be hacked and shut down quite easily. The NHS systems and security can be hacked into and stopped. And it's a scary thing. It's something we've not really seen wholesale here in the UK. Warfare has changed. It really has over the last 50 years, big time. Cyber attacks, you can bring a country to its knees if you've got a good team of hackers on board. All right, because you know everyone is reliant upon electricity these days, and you know you can't really do much in modern 21st century Britain if you're not online. So to have that asset removed just make things near on impossible for just day-to-day survival. Okay, so you know you've got no cash points, you can't go online to do anything, so that could be stopped. And obviously, as I say, that's when the real survival starts. The criminals will take to the streets because, as I said, you know the staffing for security, i.e. the police, army, reserve units, will be in short supply. And it's like an old friend of mine said, you know, the biggest, baddest and meanest get what they want. So you know, this could be another video that we could plan in the near future to talk about this, and it's what would you do? You know, everyone lives in different areas in the UK, whether it's highly populated urban environments, middle of nowhere rural locations, suburbia, small towns, villages. Some people have got 4x4s, some haven't. Do you stay at home, bugging in, or do you just make a plan and bug out to somewhere? I don't know what it is, but you know, when you see people who have a pop at preppers, and say, oh yeah, they're all going to run off to the woods, and you know, they're going to carve tent pegs and this, that, and the other. You know, lots of people will be going to remote farms all over the UK. You know, when you've got like a solid built shelter and you've got arable crops, etc. You know, that's probably more favourable than going to the woods and then realising, this is harder than I think. So I know some of you guys, or a lot of you guys watching this video, will be practicing their skills, survival skills in the woods, as and when they can. So yeah, that's another video. I don't want to dwell on it, but you know, that could be, you know, bug in or bug out, brings loads of questions and loads of answers to the fore. So yes, it is a bit of a doom and gloom video, but with an eye on current events as they escalate, you know, thrown to the mix North Korea. You've also got recently that the Chinese are going to be siding with Russia, should it kick off in Syria. So there's so many angles to this mess, and yeah, for those of you who think there's not going to be a Cold War, it's too late. In my opinion, it's already started. It started a while ago actually. So you know, maybe it's a good idea to get those supplies in sooner rather than later. Get some knives that will be needed in such events before the ban comes. Get food, water supplies, that sort of thing. Well, most of you know, but now's the time to seriously look into that. Okay, so anyway, I know it's a bit of a doom and gloom video, but I felt it's high time that someone puts their head above the parapet and speaks out about this kind of stuff. All right. So let me know in the comments all of your thoughts and feelings about this video, and we will see what we can do about a weekly bunker video. All right, discussing topics just like this. So stay safe, think, and watch and learn. Thanks for watching, and stay funky.